Hi everyone, my name is Heather Ness. I'm an intuitive numerologist and spiritual mentor. I'm so excited to share this video today. It is part of a 4-part series that I'm creating. The first one will be linked in the description below, so will the second one. So this is the third in a 4-part series. We are talking about life path numbers. In my very first video, we talk about how to calculate your own life path number, and I talk about life path number 1 through 3. And the second part to the series is talking about life path 2, 4, 5, and 6. And today we're going to discuss life path 7, 8, and 9 to kind of round out the core 9 life paths. The video that I'm going to be posting after this one will be about the master numbers, so it will complete the 4-part series of life paths. I'm really excited to dive into this one. This is a really unique one because it really it showcases all 3 types of life paths that you can have. So you have the creative group of life paths, you have the more business-oriented, business-minded, leadership-minded life path numbers, and then you have the very like analytical, or I should say more of like the philosopher, or the life path that's more about knowledge. And so with the 7, 8, 9, we really encompass all 3. So I'm really excited to cover these with us today. The first one we're going to discuss is life path 7. Life path 7, you kind of want to view this one as or it's sort of like the spiritual truth seeker, or it's a perfect combination of intuition and intellect. Life path 7s are very knowledge driven. They love to learn. They love to learn about things that are like really interest them, and that typically goes along the lines of either like spiritual, religious, philosophical, and or even sometimes more down the range of like technology. And they typically are obviously they're an amazing life path. They're very they're kind of like the internal introvert, right? They very much are the type of person that enjoys alone time, enjoys being home. They kind of like their own, almost I want to say like a cave, right? Where they have all their favorite books, where they can really learn something deeply. And they're also the ones that are always looking for truth. They're very analytical. So they're the type of person that when someone shares a new idea or a thought with them, they don't just take it with face value. They're very internally driven for truth. And so they might be intrigued by the idea or the concept, but they're going to make sure that they do their own research. They're going to analyze it from every direction they can and come up with their own determination on what they feel is their truth. They are really driven to have some kind of a spiritual practice or knowledge in spirituality, religion. It is actually one of the most spiritual numbers, if not the most spiritual number. And you'll see the number 7 represented in many different forms of like religious scriptures, like the number 7. So it is a very like spiritual religious number. That doesn't mean you have to be like a religious person or believe in any specific spiritual beliefs, but they're very curious about that. Whether or not they express it to other people, they are definitely curious about that, and they do well when they have some kind of like a spiritual practice or a spiritual understanding. Some really amazing life path 7s. A great example is actually Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is a life path 7. Like I said before, they're the type of life path that will typically specialize in something that really interests them. And they're very like deep thinkers, and you can really see that in the way Taylor Swift writes her music, right? She's a true she looks at the deeper side and the meaning of things that happen in her life, and I think that's why so many people resonate with the lyrics to her music, is because it's very authentic and it feels very real and it's very deep. And even though it's projected in a way that's very fun and kind of like poppy or whatever, like a little lighthearted in the way it sounds, the lyrics themselves really mean something. And what I think is really cool also is she has all those little as my kids would say, Easter eggs hidden in the way she like launches her new albums, and inside the albums and certain lyrics are almost like little hidden things. It's very indicative of a life path 7. They are sort of naturally like natural storytellers and also a bit secretive. So another example of a life path 7 would be Leonardo DiCaprio. He's a wonderful example of that also. He's a bit reclusive, right? He has a small group of people that he trusts in his inner circle. He really specializes. He's like an amazing actor and one of the best, right? Sort of like method actors. I think that's what they call it. So he's very like specialized, but he's also very like philosophical. And obviously I've never met him, but for how he portrays himself, on like interviews and stuff like that, he's sort of reclusive. And so that is very much indicative of a life path 7. Some really good careers for life path 7s are philosophers, researchers, anything that has to do with analyzing stuff. They make great spiritual leaders because they understand spirituality very deeply, or they can, because they're very much one that's open to ideas, even though they want to research them and come to their own conclusion on how they feel about it. They aren't the type that would shun someone's opinion or thought on something. They're going to think about it over time and come to their own conclusion, but they wouldn't necessarily be the type of person that would make the other person feel like theirs is wrong, because they understand that we all have our own truths, and that is a truth for us. So some other great, like we talked about before, spiritual teachers, professors, many of them do higher education and or teach in higher education. Writers, Taylor Swift is an amazing writer. So those are all really great examples of a life path 7. Now let's shift into a life path 8. So now let's talk about life path 8s. Life path 8s are really amazing because they are in the business group of the numbers, and they really represent finance and understanding or mastering financial circumstances or abundance. They also make great manifestors. If you think of the number 8, it's sort of like, it's the infinite symbol. It goes around and comes back around. It goes around and comes back around. It's not uncommon for life path 8s to, before they really master finance, they might chase their tail a little bit. They might have money and then lose it and then get it back again. The beautiful thing about a life path 8 is that they can recover extremely fast. They are a very resilient number. And so if they do have some kind of like financial hardship, they're able to recover extremely fast. And it almost comes across as a little lucky, right? They also, a great example of a life path 8 would be Martha Stewart. So Martha Stewart's a life path 8. She's a beautiful example of that. She built an amazing career as a woman, super successful. She then got accused of inside trading. 8s can sometimes be a little prideful. They don't like to admit that they're wrong. They also sometimes have a bit of an ego that can be a bit of a shadow side for them. But she ended up going away to prison, right, for the insider trading. And inside prison, she teaches all the inmates how to bake and all of this amazing stuff. She leaves it, and she's more successful now than she was before, and she was incredibly successful before. So that's a great example of a life path 8 and how quickly, it can turn, but they can flip it back around so fast, right? And now she is, in her 70s or 80s, posing in magazines, writing all of this, amazing books, partnering with Snoop Dogg. Like, they're very business savvy, and they're very resilient when it comes to finances, and you're here to really master that. So they make, great examples of careers would be real estate, anything in real estate, any kind of entrepreneur. You have like a CEO or a CFO, someone that really like leads the charge and is like in charge of every aspect of that business. They have incredible leadership skills. They have to really be cautious that they don't become overly aggressive, right? It is very important that they understand that assertiveness is great, but aggression They have to learn to tame that a bit. Extremely ambitious, and that is such a beautiful thing, right? So Life Path 8s are just really here to master that financial side of learning for the spirit, and many times they will be extremely successful. Just like any life path, you have a highest expression, and then you have maybe the shadow expression or the lower expression of that. So even though they have high potential to really succeed and be really successful, even if they've had some bumps in the road, they can recover fast. They have to make sure that they don't self-loathe and stay in the lower vibration of the 8, because then you could have the opposite of that, right? They're here to feel both sides. Life Path 8s have many times lost quite big financially in addition to won quite big, right? And so once they learn the balance, how to balance that energy, they really become the masters of finance and abundance, and really manifesting what they want. They have this natural ability to be able to do that. So they're a beautiful number. We happen to be in a universal year 8 because we're in 2004. So 2 + 2 + 4 is 8. And that energy is felt by everyone, by the collective. Now and we'll talk about this in a future video, we have a universal year that we will feel the energy of, but the overarching energy that we will feel is the personal year that we're in. So we have the collective year, and then we have a personal year. And so we will all feel the energy of an 8, but Life Path 8s are really supposed to be in the depth of what that Life Path 8 is all about, which is about mastering finance and abundance and manifesting and all that amazing stuff. So now let's talk about Life Path 9. Life Path 9 is a beautiful number. It is sort of the completion number. It is the last number in the core 9 numbers of life paths, and it is a highly it's a highly evolved number, because if you think about a 9, every number, like if you add one number, let's say you add a 1 to a 9, right? It then becomes 10, which then reflects back the 1, right? If you add a 2 to a 9, it becomes 11. 11 is a 1 + 1, which equals 2. So every number can be added into the number 9, which reflects its original number. And what's so neat about that is a Life Path 9 has the ability to pull from all 9, or I should say all additional 8 experiences. So they're typically older souls that have sort of cycled through the different previous life path numbers, and they're able to pull the energy or the knowledge that they've experienced through those other life paths into this one. So they tend to be really good at a lot of things. If they have an interest in something, they can become very good at it. They also are, it's known as the humanitarian number, right? So they are deep feelers, and they care deeply for the collective or for humanity as a whole. A great example of that would be Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was a Life Path 9. She did have other 9 numbers in her chart, so that wasn't the only 9. But they are here, they feel and care deeply about things or people or purposes or something along those lines. And so many times they find themselves drawn towards some kind of work in that. And it doesn't mean that they have to become a humanitarian, but they make great spiritual leaders. They make, like I said, they encompass all of them. So all the numbers. So they can really become really good at whatever they want. But they're very creative. They have a very loving, open heart. It's called altruistic, which means, I have a hard time saying that word. They are very selfless in the way they do things and the way they perceive things. So almost always, when they're looking at doing something, it's not for themselves, but it's for the betterment of everyone. And that's also part of the shadow of them, is they have to make sure that a Life Path 9 doesn't do it help others to the detriment of hurting themselves. So they have to make sure that they care for themselves. They're also deeply private. They don't want anyone to worry or worry about them. So they many times will keep their own struggles private. And so life path 9s are really here to give back and to they're extremely wise beyond their years. You'll probably know your life path 9 before you know the numbers that your life path 9, because you're typically the person that people come up to and like open up about very deep things and are asking for advice. And it may even be just someone that you didn't even know. People naturally just feel very comfortable and want to naturally open up to you and are seeking you out for your wisdom, because you have a lot of wisdom to share in a lot of different avenues. They're very romantic. They're a very forgiving number, so they easily forgive and they easily forget. They're charismatic. They make great salespeople. And so they're deeply caring, deeply charismatic, artistic. They kind of have a little bit of everything. And so those life path 9s are really here to share their knowledge. They're here to share their wisdom. For whatever group that is in their life, whether that's just their family or whether that's their work family or whether that is their friends that's family, right? They're here to like share their knowledge and have compassion for other people. Another great example of a life path 9 would be Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is a life path 9. He's very spiritual. Most life path 9s, they don't necessarily have to be religious, but they typically at some point in their life will become spiritual. or curious about spirituality in some way, whether it's religion or just being spiritual. And they care deeply about other people, right? So Jim Carrey is an amazing performer, artist, right? He also is an actual artist. He's a bit of a philanthropist. He is a bit of, he's not really into politics, but he has a very specific point of view with politics that is more for the help, the good of all. And so you're going to find that many life path 9s have many passions, and they'll likely have many different types of careers because they've lived many lives and they have lots of deep interests and they have inner wisdom that kind of comes through them from past lifetimes, if you believe in that. So life path 9s are an absolutely beautiful number. Like we said before, some of the great careers is a spiritual teacher, an artist of some kind. They make great salespeople or marketing. Really anything they put their mind to, they can sort of achieve. And they're known for their knowledge and their wisdom. If you think of the number 9, it's almost like, a big head, right? Full of knowledge and ready to share. So that concludes 3 parts of my 4-part series. In the description, I'll make sure I link the other videos to it. So if you loved what you saw, make sure you subscribe to the video, to my channel. Make sure you like the video. I'd love to say hello in the comments. And thank you again. You guys have a good day.